Alright, so we're gonna do trail recaps because we're not so great at doing trail coverage while we're on the trail. So
that's right.
First day, we started in Vegas and we drove to St. George. And then what?
So we left Vegas around 10:30 a.m., which was pretty on time for us. And we got to St. George, had a quick lunch, and then spent the majority of our afternoon at a Mavericks gas station. Most of the guys here kind of green. We do a trip like this maybe once a year, twice a year tops. So we're dusting off a lot of old gear and kind of moving stuff around. Once we left the Mavericks, we shot south to the start of the trail, and the first 3/4 of the day was very easy by design. We didn't want to start with a really rough day. We traditionally set up camp at night, so we try to avoid that. We did about 70 miles the first day, drove through Bar 10 Ranch, respectfully, and ended up camping not in the national park, just outside the national park, at one of the first lookout points. I forget the name of it, but it's south of Mount Turnbull. We ran into a really nice guy named Norris who had the camp before us. It was first come, first serve, but made friends with him pretty quick. We invited him, he invited us to his camp, and we ended up camping real close to him and sharing steak, and he brought some barbecue stuff over, so it was like a East meets West kind of thing. He was actually from Mississippi, and we were all from Southern California, and he was out there just to kind of collect himself and meet up with some other friends who hadn't made it, but we were great substitutes. So we sat in, and we, like I said, shared steak, shared booze, shared stories. We talked until into the morning hours with this guy Norris, who, I mean, real great guy, real great stories, super friendly. The next morning we woke up to the canyon. Jerry, who was with us, was a little shocked to find out that he had camped feet from the canyon, and he has a really weird fear of...
Hey, buddy.
That's him on the radio. He has a really weird fear of the canyon wall breaking off and taking him to his death. So that was pretty fun.
You gotta get on.
I got all the Josh done.
They're complaining about going slow. They really like to do that. We had breakfast the next morning with Norris.
Slowing down. All I can see is that.
Collapsed our camp, and then we headed into the park.
Never second fueling up. Show the proper way, bitch. Me gusta de gasolina. I've never seconds chase truck. Call me always last. Carrying all this shit. Dusty third. Yeah, dusty third. Still waiting on never second. Apparently fuel tanks are hard.
So what are you doing over there?
Trying to wash my arms.
Why?
Spill gas over myself like a peasant.
Because safe fuel cans are hard. We left camp around like 10:30ish. No, it was 10:30, and then we made good time out of camp, and that was a really rocky road for the first 10 miles, 15 miles, getting back through that Bar 10 Ranch and back to the main road. We started to head west. So for the record, we're doing this trip opposite of what we initially wanted to do. The spots were all booked up east to west, so now we started west side and headed east. So
there's also, when we got back to Trumbull, there's a schoolhouse there.
That was really
So we went in that, and that was pretty sweet. When we circled back through there yesterday, we passed this group of, 11, 12 UTVs, and they were being operated by like 6-year-olds or something. They weren't really that young, but
they're pretty close.
And so we pull up to the Trumbull schoolhouse, and there's this guy in an F-250 that's like obviously a pretty set up truck, and He's like, you guys didn't happen to pass a group of 10 UTVs?
No.
And we were like, actually, yeah. He's like, they're all going the wrong way and we can't find them. So, you know, here's hoping that those people made it wherever they were going yesterday.
Yeah, it's good when the guy up front knows hand signals and I throw him the hands for 3 of us and he goes like, because there's a lot of UTVs following him.
And all the people behind them, when we give them hand signals, they did this. Hey to you too.
Or nothing. Absolutely nothing. But from there, we cruised back in. We were heading westbound and stopped to see some Indian petroglyphs down a really short, easy hike. So if you're in the area, definitely recommend beelining for that if you got daylight. Lots of them on some really dark volcanic rock, and it was a pretty cool thing. If you've never seen petroglyphs up close, you could, but not that you should touch them, but you can close enough to actually get in there and see them.
You can always call for a kangaroo rat.
Can you do like that?
What was that?
Can you do like that woodchuck for famous?
Leave no trace, etc., etc.
Etc., etc., right. And from there, we cut in towards SB Point, which was a really not a heavily traveled trail.
Oh.
My truck, it's a medium-sized truck. It's a little wider than stock. I was bushwhacking a lot. Our friends in full sizes, not having a good time. There was a lot of aggressive attitude by the time we got to camp. Many mirrors were pushed in, fenders were scratched.
I didn't see any actually scratched fenders.
No, just scratched egos more than anything.
Scratched egos and whining.
It'll all wash off, but lots of whining, lots of crying, and nothing the campfire can't fix. But we're in the park, so we couldn't have a fire anyways.
So they're still miserable.
To this day. If you want to talk about the campsite.
Oh yeah. So we pulled up and we got out to the. First of all, the SB Point is incredible. There's views like you can't even. We didn't even really spend much time taking pictures of it because there's no way to do it justice, right? So we're all kind of taking that in and trying to figure out where we're going to camp. And the actual site, I think, was on this lower slope down area. So Josh and Taylor are standing in there, and they're kind of checking it out. And these 2 guys ride up on enduro bikes, and they just pull up and decide that that's their spot. But like, we took out permits for it, right?
Yeah, we called in weeks in advance to get permits, and this is not a massive area, guys. Like, this is, you can fit maybe 10 trucks comfortably between the 2 areas, and it's primitive camping. There's no toilets, there's no water, there's no ranger, there's nothing. It's just us and then these dudes that decide to come.
Yeah, so they come up and they're like gonna set up their camp in our site, right? And you know, we proved the night before that
we can make friends.
We can make friends,
we're
right?
Good people.
So we're like, hey, how you guys doing? Josh walks up and starts talking to the guys, and then you can tell.
So we approached them, and mind you, we're scouting out camps as we speak, and they pull their bikes up, and me and I approach them and say, hey guys, you guys gonna stay here tonight? And he says, yeah, we're gonna camp right here and right there. I was like, okay. Well, we got permits to be here. You know, no introductions, no, hey, how's it going? No, do you guys mind if we camp here? Because we're happy to share space. We understand it's public land. But when you come off real aggressive, and you know, we walked over and tried to start conversations, and they weren't having it. I came back with another friend who was actually trying to camp there, and same conversation. You know, so you guys gonna stay here tonight? Yeah, we're gonna be right here. Okay. Well, do you have permits? Because we had to pull a permit. And they said, oh yeah, we got permits. We're locals. We come here all the time.
We're regulars.
We're regulars. We're surprised to even see you guys here. And I said, ha, me too, because we pulled a permit. And when you pull the permits, there's not, you know, the quota is filled as soon as the permit's handed out. They're not filling these things by 20, 30 people. There's 8 people, 10 people max for a site. And after a little bit of us kind of standing on the other side of the hill, complaining about it, I think these guys decided that it's best that they move on. So they packed their stuff up and headed down the road and had a really blazing campfire.
Yeah, in the middle of the national park.
Yeah.
They lit a campfire that we could see from miles away. They're great people.
And we could have,
sure.
we could say we don't know it was them. We heard the bikes fire up the next morning and leave. So
yeah.
We're pretty sure it was them. But either way, we didn't let it stop us having a good time. We made a great dinner. We made some breakfast the next morning, collapsed camp, and now we're heading to the start of day 3.
not Overlander. That was the next step. Fuck. Was drone. You wanted the Scottle. You could bring the Scottle into the mix.
I'm getting one.
Okay, good. That's what we
on
need
board.
to do.
Where's your
Great.
board?
The charcuterie board?
Yeah, where does that?
We ate that on the road.
No, but where does that fall in the overboard?
No,
I don't have one of these.
Oh, Jerry's going in for it.
So we're coming up this here trail, going to Point Sublime,
Correct.
and we finally had something actually kind of crappy happen. And that's just kind of a selfish way to say something really crappy is happening in Grand Canyon National Park. Because there's a big old fire that we somehow bumbled our way.
No idea what I'm talking about.
Through.
Because he's not from this area.
A fire blockade.
Oh, this fire's fucking terrible then if they're calling in outside help already.
Yeah, we've been out of cell service for 2 days now.
Yeah, he said, I'm from way south from here. Okay. All right, well, sir, be safe. Thank you so much.
Apparently, there's a big old forest fire that we had no idea was happening, and we kind of bumbled our way through and around and up.
Yes.
And
I tried.
So Point Sublime is not happening on this trip.
Yeah, I don't know.
And we're real excited to come back and do this another time. And we're gonna try to go to Zion, because that sounds pretty sweet. So, I guess that's all for now.
I know.
Hopefully by the time that anybody sees this, this fire is
Not growing.
long since passed. But
Apparently in the last day or so, it's already at 14,000 acres, and they're calling it outside help, so it's not going to be a good one. And from anybody who's seen pictures of the actual North Rim, it's really heavily wooded and pretty dry right now. So everybody, please listen when they say don't have campfires in national parks that are dry and about to explode.
Enduro bike guys.
Enduro bike guys who have campfires in parks that are about to explode.
Because that's selfish and shitty of you.
That's absolutely right.
And also, think good thoughts for Jeremy. We just left him with those firefighters back there, and hopefully he can get to work. And Taylor seems to be in good control of the truck, so
She'll be all right. She'll push through. She's used to this. He's always running off with other men.
Last night we thought we might stay in Zion. We didn't. We got to drive through Zion.
Beautiful.
That was pretty sweet.
It's always one of those things that's like, that'd be great to do, but we've got somewhere else to go. So this time we drove right through it, and it was amazing. And once we got done with Zion, we tried to find a camp spot, and there was nothing available, and it's a busy weekend. And then we ended up going to Sand Hollow outside St. George. Lots of off-road friends that told me about how great it is. This little oasis that's like Moab, but a whole lot closer to home. And we paid the $25 to camp overnight on a beach, which was really great. It was probably the potentially best night's sleep we could have had the whole time, because the sand was soft and plush, and the weather was beautiful, and there wasn't much wind. And we set up camp, and then after dinner we crashed out about 1 a.m. to wake up at about 3 or 4 with the most insane wind ever. I'm pretty sure my tent is broken. All the poles have been folded and twisted.
Jerry's in a rooftop tent.
Jerry's in a rooftop tent. When he started this trip, he thought that he was far better than everybody else because of his rooftop tent. Turns out
from his pedestal.
From the top of his horse. And yeah, it turns out, I don't know, how fast do you think that wind was? I would say it was 50 mile an hour wind.
According to the weather app, it was a breezy 9-mile-an-hour wind.
No, yeah, our chairs were out of the camp, sandals were gone, the trash scattered everywhere we had to pick up. Like I said, tent's broken. Everything, I don't know if anyone's paid attention to the condition of the truck behind us, but everything has been pretty stowed tight. Right now it's all tossed in.
Just to get out of there.
To get the hell out. But it was still incredibly beautiful. The sunrise was amazing.
Yeah.
The wind sucked
so bad.
But it's okay. We probably needed a nice peppering and sandblasting to take off the crud. But we got out of there.
Well, first of all, we did a whole bunch of super sweet photo ops because
we got a travel flex. Is what we're gonna do.
Yeah. It was we did a bunch of pictures and videos of all the trucks this morning, as our goal was to be out by 10, and by like 7 a.m. we were all up and packed and ready to get the hell out.
It's easy to break camp when it's broken for you.
Yeah. So now we're headed back towards Vegas. We're about 5 hours from home. We're gonna stop for lunch in Vegas and then wrap it all up.
We left St. George at 8 a.m. and it doesn't take that long to get back. We took about 10 hours to get back. Stop all the time. We had lunch in Vegas at Tacos El Gordo. If you haven't been there, it's amazing. It's probably the best store tacos in SoCal. They're out of BC, which is Baja California, for those of you who don't know. But they have locations in Chula Vista, now in Las Vegas, so super convenient if you're coming back from St. George. After that, we went and saw the old, now it's a college campus at Zizix Road, which everybody, their mother tags on the way to Vegas. Everybody tags there at Zizix. It's kind of a big deal for all those SoCal people who go there, I suppose.
You're almost to Vegas.
Almost to Vegas. It's the exit before you get to Baker, which is the city before State Line, which is the city before Vegas. So it's not even really that close. But it sounds funny. It looks weird on a sign, so everybody wants to say they're there. We went and saw it used to be a retreat. It was owned by a guy. He was a religious fanatic, I suppose, and people came out to experience the healing waters of Zizix. And eventually,
apparently there is a mineral spring though.
There's a mineral spring there, and it's right by Soda Lake, which is also a destination on the Mojave Road that we'll do later in this year, or maybe next year, worst case. We saw the campus, we walked it, we saw some fish in the lake, and we saw a really cool boat.
What's the name of the fish they have in the lake?
Chubs. They got chubfish. Chubfish, like me, chubfish.
Twee chubs.
Twee chubs. And twee chubs. So, and from there, we packed up our shit and got back into the car because it was hot.
So hot. It went from like 60 degrees this morning to 100.
We lucked out with weather. I mean, look, if it would have been that warm, it would have been that chilly in the desert today, it would have been even colder in the Grand Canyon. So we're happy about it.
Yeah.
From there, we headed home. Jerry. Josh. Taylor.
There was some kind of noise. I thought for sure they were passing a radio off.
I don't think she wants to play this game.
Kick her out.